Hello, it's Michelle, and this is my first ever Top 5 Wednesday video. If you haven't heard of Top 5 Wednesdays, it was created by Lainey over at GoodReads Lainey, and I will put a link to her channel below. She has created a GoodReads group, and she puts out a topic for every Wednesday, and you record your top 5 for whatever topic she happens to pick, and she's so creative with them, and it's so fun. And normally I don't have enough time to do a weekly video, but since I'm a teacher and it's summer, I have time, so I thought, why not? And I love today's topic, which is the top 5 books you have read so far this year. And it was so hard for me to narrow it down to 5 books. I decided to share my top 5 of 2014 in no particular order. First, I'm going to talk about Stolen by Lucy Christopher. And this is a story about a young woman who is taken captive in the Bangkok airport, and her captor takes her to Australia. And it's a real mystery as to why this person would have taken her captive. The story is written as a letter from her to her captor. And I just thought the story unfolded very nicely. You got to know the characters very slowly, but really got a feel for what their personalities were like. Also, her description of the middle of Australia, where the captor takes her, were just so vivid. You just felt like you were really in this barren, desolate place, and you felt like you were experiencing the story along with them. This one really sucked me in. But the reason I most liked this story was because I thought about it so long after I finished the story. I just really couldn't decide how I felt about it. I was mad about the ending, happy about the ending, mad about the ending, and had to just kind of wrestle with myself and come to grips with how the story ended and what I thought about the whole situation. So I kind of loved that internal conflict when a book makes me think, and therefore that's what landed Stolen by Lucy Christopher on my top 5. The next book I wanted to talk about is Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. I picked this book up because it's a new adult romance, and I do read a little of that, but the thing that was intriguing about this one is it came with a soundtrack, and I was like, what? I had listened to one song off of the soundtrack, thought it sounded good, thought, okay, this might be cool to hear the songs while reading the story that includes the song. So I picked it up, and it was so much more than just the songs being incorporated into the story. There's a character who is deaf, and that adds a whole layer of communication issues that really add a lot of depth to the story. And it's a love triangle, but not your typical love triangle, and I just really loved how the story flowed. I couldn't get enough. I sped read to the end, enjoyed every minute of it, and just thought it was a beautiful story. Love it. The next book I want to talk about on my top 5 is Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. And this book was just so enjoyable. The writing is amazing. Robin Sloan is an absolute wordsmith. The characters were so quirky. The story was so quaint. It was intriguing. There's a mystery. There's adventure. But there's no real danger. There's no real antagonist, and yet it is completely interesting and absorbing. And so it's a really feel-good kind of a book, and the writing is simply amazing. Therefore, it's on my top 5 of 2014. Next on my top 5 of 2014, I had to include World After by Susan E. I also read Angel Fall this year, but I thought World After was even better. Both stories are so fast-paced. Rafi is just such a good hero. You just can't help but love him. Penryn is just, you just want to cheer for her so strongly and her family. And she just has to go with what she knows, make decisions and follow them. And nothing's perfect for her. And yet she's just so driven and determined, and she's kicked butt, and I just love how fast-paced the stories are, and I get through them so quickly. I can't wait for the 3rd, and it looks like there should be a 4th and a 5th also later in the series, so very much looking forward to continuing on with that. Okay, I know I said in no particular order, but this has to be my favorite book so far of 2014, and I actually read it very, very early in January. It is Making Faces by Amy Harmon, and this is the story of Fern, who is a preacher's daughter. She's kind of a meek and shy and humble young lady. And she sort of has her eye on this guy in high school named Ambrose Young, and he plays football and he goes to parties and he's real popular. And one day at a pep assembly, he sings, and she is completely smitten with him from then on. But she's too shy to really talk to him or interact with him, and he ends up going off to war with several of the guys from their small town in Pennsylvania. And he comes back and he's disfigured, and he wants to hide and not being around anybody. And the story kind of goes from there, and their relationship from that point on. And there's so much more to this story. The story is really about the entire town and how events in the world affect them, and bigger issues like teenage pregnancy, and of course the war and terrorist attacks on the United States, and all kinds of things, disabilities and how you view them, and what your outlook is on life. This book is just, it hits on everything, and it's such a beautiful story. It was so touching. And get out the Kleenex box, because if you're anything like me, you will be crying. I didn't start this book until about 11:30 in the morning, but I finished it the same day. I made it a mission. It was so good. I had to force myself to put it down to eat and enjoy time with my family, but I went ahead and finished it that day. So good. Can't recommend the book enough. Making Faces by Amy Harmon. Thanks for watching my top 5 of 2014 so far.